I feel like if you're looking for an actual review of the game, either you're looking for a score, you're looking for a yes, a no, an up, a down, some kind of actual verdict at the end of the day, and a breakdown of like all the aspects of the game. So number 2, Alex, we do not review games.
Yes. We are bad game reviewers, allegedly, according to one comment at one point in time, sometime. No naming names.
And there is a reason for that. We don't do game reviews on the channel.
Well, at least not in any sense of the word. That is, if you're expecting someone to give you a comprehensive review of a game, a la a games journalism thing, no, 100% not.
Yeah, I'll clarify that, because what we do typically do on the show is, if we've played a game, we'll talk a little bit about it, and, we'll probably talk about something interesting that happened inside of it, usually on a tangential topic. When I talked about Midnight Acres and that I refunded it after like an hour or so, it was mostly to talk about how there were genres that weren't working together. And so those two genres, about like a farming simulation and like a tower defense game, didn't end up working for me, because they're trying to do two very different things. But that's not really a review of Midnight Acres. It's not me going over like, all right, so now we're going to talk about the graphics, and we're going to talk about the sound design, and we're going to talk about the game length and the mechanics inside of the game, and now I'm going to give it a score. We've never given scores to games. We've never done like the pros and cons list you'll see at the end of like an IGN review.
No, I mean, we'll definitely, if there's a game we played, we have absolutely gone in and said, there's a couple things I like about it, there's a couple things I don't like about it, or here's something I thought was interesting, or here's something I really hated. It's more of a, this is what my experience with this game was like.
Right. The things that are really stand out to me, because, like, to be honest with you, I've played some really bad games. I've played some really good games in the past, and I might talk about them, but the fact of the matter is, I'm usually, if I'm bringing up a topic that we're going to talk about on the show, it's because of something that is in the game that I want to focus on. I have my feelings on Starfield, as I've probably explained before, but the big thing I wanted to talk about is, like, the adventure hook that you could make out of like the clones that they had in that one subplot. It's stuff like that. You're not going to find comprehensive reviews in there, because we're not good at it. I give Starfield a question mark out of 10 is what I give.
And this really goes back to even the last podcast too, when we actually did a lot of guest interviews with the tabletop designers. If you're a tabletop game designer and you're listening to the show and want to come on the show, please let us know. Or if you're a video game designer and want to come on the show, please let us know.
Also applicable.
But, we, back then, were doing interviews talking about game mechanics, game design, why they made the games the way they did, all that stuff, and it was fun. But occasionally we would get emails from people going, hey, we like your show, would you like to do a review of our game?
Yeah.
And our answer was always, no, we don't review games, but if you'd like to come on and talk about the game with us, we would love that.
Right, you want to come on to explain, like, what the game does and, like, the systems therein. That's something that we're interested in talking about. We did have a couple times even where there was one or two video game designers, I guess, that had, talked about maybe we'd like to stream their games at some point back when we did Delve, which I don't know how much you remember of that, but I remember that...
Vaguely.
Yeah, a couple people that were like, here's an alpha build of the game, and we were just wondering if you might want to... And it's like, well, first of all, we weren't doing a lot of streaming of games back then, but the other problem is that, like, in similar fashion to the tabletop games where they'd say, hey, we'll send you like a PDF copy or we'll send you a free book or something. It's like, well, that's nice. That would be nice, but we aren't game reviewers. We're really not that. We have impressions of games and there's certain things that we'll talk about inside of them and discuss, but we're not really doing a review to tell you, is it good? Is it bad? The closest thing that I'll do is like on Titanium Mine, which is the other show. At like the end of the year, I'll do the best to worst list of the games that came out that year I played. And that's just me trying my hardest to organize what I liked more than the other thing in a tier list.
Maybe you should do it in a tier list format.
Oh, a tier list. Oh boy. Yeah. I gotta like pit them against each other. And
no, not like a.
Oh, I get you. No, I know what you're talking about. The SAB. Down. Yeah.
Not a bracket.
Oh, okay. You know, I'm gonna subvert expectations there. S stands for sad. It goes here.
F stands for fantastic.
And A stands for adequate. And B stands for
rearranging the letters in the tier list.
B stands for bleh. Anyway,
I thought B stood for Ballet in Wonderland.
So that's low on the list I'm gonna take.
Yeah,
or a masterpiece, depending on how you want to view it. But yeah, no, I'll be fine telling you that, like, I particularly liked a game or didn't like a game. Like, in the case of, like, War Tales, that it was something that surprised me because I didn't think that it would engage in the way, and trying to explain why I think it engaged in a way that I didn't expect. But those aren't really reviews, I think, the way people are looking for them.
Probably not, but that's fine.
Yeah.
People can have different formats for things. I mean, you're more comprehensive when you talk about the games anyways, because, again, I will remember the things I liked about the games and not as much the things I didn't like unless they were really egregiously bad.
Right.
So when I talk about the games, I will tell you, yeah, I played this game, I liked this, didn't like this, but I don't have like a lot of, I don't analyze things nearly as much, I think, as you do.
Well, yeah, when I play games, I have a tendency to, like, I'll sit back and I'll kind of be like going, first of all, is this something I'm enjoying or is this something I'm not? And then I'll start thinking, like, whether I'm enjoying it or not, do I have an interest of continuing to play it or not? And then after I get, because those are not direct correlations either. There are games where I'll say, like, oh, this is really good, but I have no interest in continuing to play it. And there'll be games where I'm kind of like going, yeah, this isn't so big, but then I end up playing it for a long time, even though it's not
how that works.
Yeah.
Sometimes the games that you're like, this is okay, you'll end up playing forever.
Oh yeah,
for a very long time. And then games that you're like, this is pretty good, then you put it down, and you never go back to it.
Oh yeah, no, like this year alone, like Starfield is a good example of the game that I played a lot, but I would say that it's probably just average in terms of like its overall production. And then like Hi-Fi Rush, I immediately was like, oh wow, this is really nice, but I couldn't, like, after a couple hours, I personally couldn't keep playing it because it just wasn't the kind of game for me. So it's one of those things where I'll do that, but then I'll sit down after that and kind of reflect for a moment, like, okay, if this is a good game and I didn't want to play it, why? If it's not a good game and I, didn't want to play, and I kept playing it, like, why? And, like, what is causing me to, have this feeling? And that might be something independent of the games itself that I'll talk about on the show. About, like, why this works or why this doesn't work, but it's not really an overview and complete review of a game where at the end we're going to go, here's our verdict, and thumbs up or to the side or what. Like, we just don't do that. We don't.
And especially me, I don't sit there and reflect on games generally at all. I play games to just kind of relax 90% of the time, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you've known over the years I do not have as much analytical mind for that stuff. But then we can talk about mechanics, and I'll pick them apart. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Which is why we usually end up talking about that on the show. I think the closest thing that we really do is more an impressions sort of video, where
game impressions.
Right, where we would sit there and say we like this game or this was enjoyable, and if you were to ask me if you should pick it up, I'd say yes or I'd say no. I feel like if you're looking for an actual review of the game, either you're looking for a score, you're looking for a yes, a no, an up, a down, some kind of actual verdict at the end of the day, and a breakdown of like all the aspects of the game. At least when I'm looking for a game review, I want them to go into all of the different categories. I want them to look through like all of the different things that it runs and their experience with the game overall, and really.
I don't
get
typically look for game reviews because I don't generally hold them to be anything that would affect me. Because because of the way I enjoy games, I don't really get anything from a review. I go, cool, this is what they liked and didn't like.
Yeah.
I don't know if that'll affect me. Usually if I go to any kind of review, it is totally ramblemmatic now.
Oh, yeah.
Because I like the tongue-in-cheek subversion of game reviews more than an actual game review.
We had like at one time, I think we talked about Baldur's Gate 3, you were playing that, and we were talking about specific aspects of it that we wanted to investigate and talk about why they worked and didn't work. I'll do that all day. Like, you'll see a game, you'll say something in this is really interesting that you haven't seen before, and to talk about if that works, if it doesn't work, as far as, the design decisions. Games we didn't think we'd play is probably about as close as we ever came to, like, a segment on it. And I think that's mostly to just say, hey, we didn't think we'd play these things, but here we are. So,
and we got rid of segments, but we still kind of do that anyways.
Yeah, once in a while we'll talk about a game like that. But if you're coming for game reviews, you're probably going to be sadly disappointed. Disappointment.
Sad.
Yeah, but if you do have a review of a game, or you have a reviewer that you particularly like, let us know. I don't look at them as often as I used to in general.
I just don't look at them.
Yeah,
that says a lot about my personality.
I mostly look at more the commentaries or the video essays now when it comes to video games. I had just watched, before we started recording, Daryl Talks Games talking about his backlog and how that went for the year.
Oh, yes. That is on my backlog of things to watch.
It's very interesting. It's very interesting how that
Did you ever listen to that 6-hour video from Frederick Knudsen about EVE Online?
No, I just don't know if I have the constitution, but
it'll
happen.
There's a lot of good stuff in there. There's a lot of really interesting stuff in there, I think.
Yeah. No, I'm sure there is. The closest thing I think I've ever come to like a list is right now on Titanium Mine I'm doing Spacember. And for that at the beginning I have a little checklist that I get out of like okay, so because it's all space games. So I'm like, okay, does it have spaceships you could pilot? Does it have lasers? Does it have aliens? And I'll go through the checklist just to say, yeah, it has this, it doesn't have this, it doesn't have that.
There you go.
But that doesn't necessarily mean it's good or bad.
No. Well,
it just has it.
Space games are a love-hate of mine.
Yes.
Kind of like colony sims and like city builders are a love-hate of mine.
Yes. Yeah. Like
different reasons.
Like Souls-likes for me.
Yeah. It's like I really enjoy a good city builder.
Sure.
But there's never any story.
No. Yeah. Yeah. Too bad that they don't. If you know of a city builder that has an actual entertaining story involved, Alex wants to know.
I do. The closest thing I can get to like a city builder with a really good story is probably Jurassic World Evolution. Or Evolution 2. Which has the stories from Jurassic Park and tells stories and it's interesting and you can have dinosaurs. But I wish they expanded on the map sizes and the ability to build more, because I would love to make like a really big park of dinosaurs.
Oh, yeah.
And that, again, is probably one of the only like theme park games I've seen that has an interesting story to it.
Yeah. One of my favorite things when I was playing the Jurassic Park Evolution one was where they'd be going, a dinosaur is eating one of your guests.
Yeah.
You go
Have
over,
you played the second one?
I haven't played the second one, no.
They improved it.
Oh, good. Good.
It's good. It's good.
I just love the idea of a game explaining to you that your patrons are currently getting mauled to death by a Stegosaurus.
Yes.
Perfect. But anyway, yeah. So anyway, that's just a little bit of a brief overview.
A review about why we don't do reviews.
Yeah, we'll just review our ability to review. It's 0 out of 10. Yeah, 0 out of 10. All the notes.